I feel like I have to clarify a few things. Um, so to me, the an adult human being, and these are my insights and intuitions and stuff, and everybody gets to have their own perspective. This is just a sharing of perspectives, so that if it resonates at all, then it gives you another thing, another way of looking at things. Um, Nobody knows for sure who's right or who's wrong. All we can do is share ideas. And yeah, so to me, children are, um, advanced souls too. You don't just learn from the time you're a child. You come into that child's body already a soul that has lived other lives, with other experiences. I don't think that any soul can just go straight from becoming a soul to going inside a human being. I don't think it works that way. I think that there is a progression of the energy of realizing itself, the realizing of its form, of its awareness, of its capabilities, and all of that stuff as the energy advances to get to, being what I would consider a soul, and can go in and incarnate and have experiences. That's like, it's like giving somebody a car before they know how to drive. And we have a lot of evil kind of souls, but I think that those are not like stupid souls or evil souls, or any of the ideas and the labels we put on them. I think it's an experience, and there's certain places you can go and have those experiences. I'll tell you a show that just I can't even watch. I watched it in the 70s and I loved it, but now this one is like, this is real. What's it called? World. Gosh, it's just left. I know it's on HBO. Westworld. I think it's called Westworld, and it's when you can go to these other realities and get all into it and live this. You can go to the Western one and pretend like you're a cowboy in the 1700s or whatever. And so it has these experiences, and then these they make them like they're AI or something, like they're created beings, and then they give them intelligence with like computer chips or whatever, but the things start waking up to their own power, just like what's happening. So it's weird. Yeah, that show is showing you exactly what's really happening. But I couldn't watch it because it was so triggering. I was like, oh my gosh. Because it was before I had gotten to this part, when I was trying to watch it. Because I think they just did season 4 or 5. So it was quite a few years ago when I started trying to watch it. And I was like, oh my gosh, no, this is what's happening. And we hadn't even gotten to the part yet where this giant thing that is happening. Like, I didn't all the stuff I knew for so much time in my life, like as a kid, I knew that there was conspiracies. I knew we couldn't trust the government. I just would get those messages all the time. And so I was always on guard about it. I was always watching it, I thought, with a watchful eye. But I had no idea how infiltrated it had become with these evil beings. If it goes, so many people call it so many things, but now we have all these, the cabal, the globalists, the deep state, the Illuminati, the original families. It's just all these different people have different names for it, but it's all basically the same thing. It's the controllers. It's who's had the power, the money, the technology the whole time, and has kept us enslaved in a system that we could never get out of. We were on the hamster wheel all the time, feeling defeated and sad and lonely, and they always had a pill to fix it. So we were in a very corrupt system, and I knew parts of it, but I didn't even, until I started seeing about what they were doing with Trump. That is when it just really woke me up. It was like, oh my God, I'm hating this guy who's this nice. This guy's freaking going around doing saintly things. What the hell do? I don't do stuff like that. He's going and doing so much nice stuff for no recognition at all. He's just such a humanitarian. And I was like, I'm sitting here hating him, calling him names. And oh my God, I felt so stupid I felt rotten. Like I had to keep going on and apologizing to him. And I know he's not reading my tweets, but I felt rotten, and how I was misled, because I didn't feel like, well, it's just their fault. They were manipulating me. It's like I had a part to play. I was giving up my own power. I was being a workaholic, busy working, not paying attention. You know, I would get People magazine and In Touch magazine. That was my reality. I didn't watch the news or pay attention to the news because I felt so manipulated. I'm very compassionate and very empathetic, and I couldn't handle the news. It would just terrorize me. I would feel so crappy and so sad and so scared. And then I started noticing like how many people are just scared because they watch the news. It starts making you feel like there's a criminal on every corner. There's tragedy just waiting to happen. It's like, none of that's real. So anyways, I could see that and tuned off of the news a long time ago. I could go into certain people's houses who had, at the time, it was Fox was on all the time in certain people's houses. And I could go in there and I could hear that they were giving biased information because I knew other information and I knew that theirs was biased. But I didn't really understand a lot about politics. You know, there still is a detachment because there were so many things that they would say, this is what's happening or that's what's happening. And then they would mislead you. Even when I was being an activist, and one of the more leader girls, she was explaining that that's what the whole thing is. She had been in politics for a while, and that everything is misleading. You know, they'll tell us that this is what it's for, but it's really not for that. It's really for this thing way down here, but they build it all up and tell us this one thing. So it's so much manipulation. It's insane. And then when you start seeing the same people who own the politicians, own the media, own the social media, own the big tech, they own the news, they own the celebrities, they own the movie companies, the TV shows, the writers, they tell them what to write, how to have things be a certain way, and to the point where we all start thinking that that is really real. And it's not. It's all manufactured, and it all gives us this idea of how we need to behave and what we need to do. And they can direct fashion, they can direct hair. Oh my God, look at the freaking Rachel. They can do so much stuff to get us to be like we're just. And I was one of them for so long. Yeah. I thought celebrities were real, like what they presented. I thought that was their real self. And then Kevin Spacey and Bill Cosby woke me up to like, oh my gosh, these people are nothing what you think they are. They're just completely different. And then when you start seeing, like, if they're being paid to put on a certain persona to try and manipulate us, it's so devious. And I don't think that they're all aware of what's going on. I'm not saying they are all as devious of who is the one who's doing it, because there's the controllers, and then there's the puppets, there's the puppet masters, and there's the audience. So, we're all the audience. We're all the ones who are being formed by these other ideals that someone else is putting into our head. And then you have the puppet masters back there who are running the show, but they don't show their faces. They just put this pretty face out in front of them and make them do what they want. And all the beautiful people who, for whatever reason, needed to have the whole world like them, needed to feel, have what they needed to feel successful or feel happy in themselves, was a huge drive, So all of those systems working together is just completely, it's a false reality. There's nothing real about it. And so to me, we have that going on, this as a human being, and it has so much to do with Earth and your connection to Earth and your connection to nature, and how much we've been cut off from that, how much we've been herded into the cities where it's easier to control than as we're all compacted in there, miserable, all fighting for the same job and always feeling like there's not enough. And while they're doing all of that, they're telling us, like, the Earth is out to, we've overpopulated, we've overdone it, so all our fault. And we all feel uncomfortable. We're picking up on everybody else's feelings, and everyone's tense, and there's so much addiction, and so many different kinds of addiction. It's not just like, they say, oh, you have addictive personality, or this thing's addictive, or that thing's addictive. No, they're creating an insatiable race. They're just creating this detachment, gender confusion. They just drug dependency. They're creating this in this beautiful, wonderful species that just wants to love and have fun and dance out in the woods naked and play games and play music, and that's all the species wants to do, is just enjoy what it is. It's just like a butterfly, flying around, just having fun. That's a human being's natural instinct, and being connected to out into nature. And they try and keep us away. I mean, how many cities did they even turn into just concrete? They were even singing about that in the 70s, like they're just turning it into concrete, everything. But when you get out in nature, you feel something that you don't feel when you're in the city. When you get out in nature, you just feel a connection. You don't have so much interference. You don't have the frequency and the all of the energy, all of the stuff. Like, you've got energy from the people, you've got the energy going through the power lines, you've got this, all the stuff that your body is picking up on, that you don't have any conscious idea of what is all happening. And that unsettled feeling, all you got to do is just go in the city, be trying to get around, doing stuff, getting running errands or whatever, and then see how that feels, see how you sleep at night, see how your mind races and everything. And then they put on TV programs. It's just like boom, 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 boom. I mean, they've tried to reduce people's, it's like they've worked on reducing your, what is that called? Your concentration, your, they're making all this attention deficit, that everything is just like, and people want and need more all the time. Stimulation, stimulation, stimulation. And it's all being done so manipulative, they're doing it on purpose. But when you go out in nature, go out and go for some walks out into the forest, and or just go sit by the water. Go sit by a waterfall or stream and just listen to the water and relax. Yeah, and then see how you sleep. It's completely different. And I think there's going to be a lot more of people getting out, moving out of the cities. I think the cities are being destroyed right now, but it all has bigger purpose. Like there's all this more purpose to some of the things happening as the old structures are collapsing. Then we're going into create the new structures, the new way of being. But all of that stuff has to end. And we're seeing it. I mean, it's literally being burned down. People are losing so much right now. I mean, there's people who worked and worked and worked to get money to go into their own business, put everything they had into it. And just in this matter of time are out having it just destroyed. And I know that that's bringing out a lot of growth, a lot of issues in people, what they have to go through when that happens. But the beautiful thing is that we're going into this new phase of creation. So all of the things are going to be given back. They're on the executive orders and stuff that have been written. All of them have clauses of confiscating all the money of all these crimes that have been done against humanity. All this money is going to go back into rebuilding humanity and rebuilding the world that we want. That's what we need to think about, as we're healing. There's going to be so many people, there's going to be so much healing going on. And I hope that I can help. There's not going to be anybody who can tell you that this set path. We can say like, these things came up for me and I had to look at these things, and it helped me when I went through this. We can all do that for each other and share information and ways to heal, but none of us know someone's purpose, their path, none of that. It all is internal. You have to go inside and get your own guidance. And then you have to figure out that communication. You have to figure out that language that's going on between you and your guides. You have to differentiate between, and the higher you go and the more you pull in that positive energy, the angel energy and stuff, the more protected you will feel. But at first, there's going to still be that battle for your soul. And if you want to put it in pictures and stuff, with the angels and devils pulling at both sides of you, you can. But it's definitely an energy and it's a balance. And then there's like a whole in the universe, everything has to be in balance. But so when all of this stuff, when you're releasing all this stuff, you're still going to have negative attachments, energies that are drawn to you, the ego, these things that, and those energies will feed you negative ideals, negative, and that's where people are getting really stuck in that, and they're killing themselves. It's like, this is useless. This is horrible. I can't deal with this. I can't deal with, God, I'm a horrible person. I'm, and when things happen, it's to not get you stuck in I'm a horrible person. It's just to have you grow and see. You can't grow without seeing yourself and learning about yourself. You have to see yourself. It's almost like we're getting a life review while we're still alive. We're getting an opportunity to have that big amount of growth right now that, you know, it's very significant in a soul cycle to have that life review and see. You get a look from above. I mean, anytime you can, detach from yourself. Look at a situation from above. Look at it from everyone else's perspective. Don't just get narrow-minded on yours, because the experience is all the experiences. It's not just yours. And the more that you open your mind, and the more that you love yourself and accept yourself, the more you're going to be able to feel that experience, to be in that experience. And, you know, moving into those kind of realities, moving out of this enslaved reality that we've been in, and creating the world that we want instead of the world that we've been fed and told that's all we deserve. Now we're going to create the world we want. And, you know, as the people are healing, there's going to just be so much about wanting to live more like how they did. You know, I think a lot about just the homesteading, you know, the people who came to this country and just got in a wagon train and just took off out, and what they had to go through. I mean, I haven't been very much on the East Coast, but I've traveled a lot on the West Coast. And there's some treachery. I can't even imagine. There's so much desert, so much mountains, so much weather changing. I mean, you can go from tornadoes to floods, the blizzards. I mean, there's just so much that they had to go through. Just, you know, to go look for something new and different to start, to create. And, you know, they had to lose loved ones. They had to be fighting disease that they didn't even understand yet. And, you know, things that we can cure now, they were dying. And this wasn't that long ago. That is what the people don't really get. And, you know, I think we're going to get back to a smaller kind of government like what we had back then. You had a town, you had some sheriffs, you had a mayor, and you had the townspeople. And when something was going on, all the townspeople met down at the biggest meeting hall. I think most places was the church. But nowadays, I mean, we could build bigger ones. But you know, the whole town would go and discuss it. They'd vote. They'd all share ideas and talk about it. And that's another thing, too, that I've always heard about with a lot of Native American tribes, was that if everyone didn't agree, they wouldn't do it. And I think we're going to get back to being smaller communities, being around the people that we are like-minded with, that we share community, that we socialize with each other, that we find satisfaction helping one another, that we're going to build what. And I think some of the people who have lost their businesses are going to find that when there is an abundance and that we aren't having everything hoarded away from us and kept away from us and then told that we can't have anything, that once that is all out, free flowing, and that everybody gets what the earth has to offer, it's going to change. And, you know, people aren't going to be enslaved to work to survive. There's not going to be as much of that. So there's going to be a lot of people who wouldn't want to be tied down to their business anyways. They're going to be out living their lives. I think we're just going to go back to a lot more of living our lives, a lot more traveling, a lot more spending time with people, and that the working is going to become, I think that our bills are going to be so different, you know, and there'll still be ways to change your life. Like if you want to buy a boat or whatever, that's still going to be available to you, you know, and working and stuff. But I think that your working time is going to be so much more valuable because you're not going to have so many more bills. So I just think people are going to get down to, I bet you, working what we would consider like part-time, and one family member working. I don't think people are going to have the same keeping up with the Joneses mentality. And I think that there's going to be the reevaluation when we go on the gold standard. The reevaluation is going to take us back to reasonable prices. When I was younger, and I was talking to the adults who were buying houses then, or, you know, who had bought houses. They were, you know, like boyfriend's parents and my parents and stuff like that, the parents' age, how they bought their houses and stuff. I mean, they were spending a couple $1,000s to buy a house, a car, gas. When I started driving, gas was 50 cents a gallon. How did it go up? And where did they keep changing? And that was where the government was tricking us again, telling us but they were really just selling our own independence and our own power independence and giving it to these other ones and letting them fluctuate the price on us. So they just can do whatever they want. Oh, they need some money. Maybe they're going to go on a trip. Maybe they'll just raise it up, you know, make a couple billion off of us and then lower it for, you know, a couple weeks. And then as soon as vacation time, raise it again. You know, all the games they played, like with gasoline and cars. A long time ago, I heard that they had the capabilities to make tires that would last forever. You'd never have to replace a tire. But why don't they? Because they need to keep making money. All the stuff that they do that is just like that kind of stuff.